The future looks pretty bleak for Boeing right now. Things have taken a nosedive for this aviation giant, and they don't seem to be coming out of the slump. Boeing's Starliner crew capsule, which competes with SpaceX's Crew Dragon spacecraft, has been plagued from the start, and its most recent issues are far more serious than initial reports revealed. Let's find out more, starting with rookie behavior. Boeing is the world's largest aerospace corporation, a major U.S. defense contractor, and a worldwide aviation giant. A few years ago, it was assumed that Boeing would dominate commercial space, with companies like SpaceX, a relatively new company that relies on a strategy of moving fast and breaking things, taking a backseat to the more level-headed and experienced Boeing. That, however, is not what happened. The spacecraft's development was plagued by errors, delays, and mishaps. A disastrous test flight, software glitches, stuck valves, and a lawsuit involving a subcontractor executive who apparently lost his limb during a botched Starliner test were all part of the rather messy story. After first scrutinizing SpaceX more closely than Boeing, officials later expressed concern that several of the Starliner's flaws went unnoticed. Elon Musk's SpaceX, a relatively recent player into the spaceflight market, beat Boeing to the launch pad in the end. Since entering operation in 2020, the company's Crew Dragon spaceship has launched 5 astronauts for NASA. The Starliner scandals have added to previous problems inside Boeing's commercial aircraft division, which have tarnished the company's once pristine reputation in recent years. Next, we have the mistakes that cost a fortune. According to reports, there's still a chance that Starliner will make its International Space Station launch date despite the turbulence. Or so they hope. The bad news is that the underlying valve issue that has caused so many setbacks will almost certainly need a complete redesign, which is yet another hurdle Boeing has to cross. Boeing Vice President Mark Nappy said at a news conference on Wednesday that a valve redesign was definitely on the table, after news of the company's dispute with valve manufacturer Aerojet Rocketdyne was leaked. Due to the recurrent setbacks in the launch of its Starliner spaceship, Boeing has spent an additional $600 million to date. Many have interpreted the ill-fated launch as Boeing's losing bet in the race against SpaceX's Crew Dragon capsule. Both companies have been hired by NASA to develop a new, reliable method of launching astronauts into space. While SpaceX has launched 5 crewed missions to the International Space Station so far, Boeing has yet to fly an uncrewed Starliner to the space station, thanks to the developmental hell they've been stuck in. The ongoing delays, many of which appear to be related to the same valve issue, appear to have irritated NASA, which last year reassigned personnel to SpaceX's Crew Dragon from Boeing's Starliner after they failed to reach a stable orbit. In other words, it appears that the aircraft industrial paradise is even more troubled than we believed. And now, what's up with Boeing? Boeing and SpaceX were awarded fixed-price contracts by NASA in 2014, which meant the space agency would only pay the agreed-upon sum and not a dime extra. The move solidified their positions as the companies that will return NASA people to space as part of the Commercial Crew program. Boeing got $4.2 billion in awards, a large increase above SpaceX's $2.6 billion. While the corporation claims this is due to the fact that SpaceX had already received millions for the construction of an uncrewed version of its Dragon vehicle. Though both aircraft were scheduled to launch astronauts into orbit within a few years, it became evident that SpaceX was surpassing Boeing as the decade came to a close. When SpaceX's first uncrewed orbital flight test, called OFT-1, arrived at the launch pad in December 2019, it had already been 6 months ahead of schedule. And it was evident fairly soon following the debut of Starliner on December 20th, 2019 that something was awry. Later, NASA and Boeing officials told reporters that Starline's internal clock was off by 11 hours, causing the spaceship to misfire and veer off course. The Starliner was compelled to return to Earth sooner than expected. A second severe software flaw was discovered months later, with one government safety official claiming it might have resulted in a catastrophic catastrophe. Before the Starliner's behavior was disrupted, Boeing was able to discover and fix the error. Chris Ferguson, a former NASA astronaut who left the agency in 2011 to help Boeing develop and build the Starliner, was set to lead the Starliner's first crewed flight as a private astronaut. However, following the failure of the vehicle's first test flight, Ferguson said that he would no longer be able to ride on it due to scheduling issues. According to NASA and Boeing, Ferguson made the decision citing personal reasons. But for all we know, the glitches could be behind the cold feet. Despite the fact that the crewed mission has been rescheduled numerous times, Ferguson does not appear to be returning to the mission. Instead, Barry "Butch" Wilmore has been assigned to take his place. Next up, SpaceX versus Starliner. Having contracts with both Boeing and SpaceX has advantages for NASA, including lowering reliance on cooperation from Russia's space agency, Redundancy, which is one of the ISS's operators and the provider of Soyuz flights. With what's going on with Russia and all the geopolitical risks, redundancy is a top priority. The more ways we have to get to space, whether with or without a crew, the better. There's hope that competition between the two giants will lead to cost-cutting and innovation. NASA has saved money because of SpaceX's reusable space capsules and rockets. And the Commercial Crew Program, when combined with Boeing, may save the government billions of dollars. But it's not all win-win for NASA. Working with private enterprises can be difficult, and we've seen a glimpse of it already. For instance, a 2018 audit of NASA's Space Launch System, the mega rocket that will transport the Artemis missions to the moon, blamed Boeing in part for its excessive costs and delays. SpaceX has been called out by the public over environmental issues such as the expansion of its Boca Chica launch complex, and the interference of the Starlink satellite constellation with the night sky. The older, more established Boeing and the upstart SpaceX make an interesting duo in NASA's Commercial Crew Program. It's almost like that classic rabbit versus tortoise story with the underdog beating the popular favorite. We're excited to see who reaches the finish line first. Next, in other related news, inching closer to the Dreamliner, Boeing CEO David Calhoun underlined his faith in the Boeing 787 Dreamliner making a return during an earnings teleconference on Friday. The company hasn't delivered a Dreamliner since June of last year, but it still has 115 planes in the works. The FAA threw back parts of Boeing's documentation for its inspection plans, stating they were incomplete. This has fueled speculation that Boeing 787 Dreamliner deliveries may not restart in 2022. However, the company has submitted the paperwork in late April, hoping to resume deliveries this year. Despite the setback, the firm is sure that efforts to resume deliveries of 787 Dreamliner will not be hampered. Let's see if that Dreamliner takes off. And now for the SpaceX cargo launch. SpaceX's next supply flight to the International Space Station will not take off this week. CRS-25 will transport a SpaceX Dragon spacecraft to the orbiting lab aboard a Falcon 9 rocket launched from NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The liftoff was supposed to take place on Friday, June 10th, but that isn't going to happen. NASA officials said in an emailed statement they've decided to cancel this week's Falcon 9 launch of the CRS-25 cargo mission to the International Space Station. NASA and SpaceX officials have met today to address a problem discovered over the weekend and the best course of action. The propellant utilized by Dragon's Draco thrusters, hydrazine, is involved in this problem. Technicians noticed excessive hydrazine vapor readings in one component of the Draco system when filling it up, according to a NASA release. CRS-25, as the name suggests, will be SpaceX's 25th robotic resupply mission to the International Space Station for NASA. This will be the third mission for this Dragon, which previously flew cargo missions to the orbiting lab in December 2020 and August 2021. A SpaceX Dragon capsule called Freedom, which flew 4 astronauts to the station in late April for a 6-month tenure, has already docked to the orbiting lab. They have a separate contract with NASA's Commercial Crew Program to execute such astronaut trips, and the company has already launched 5 of them, including a crew demonstration flight scheduled for May 2020. Finally, we have a new satellite for SpaceX. Elon Musk has given the first technical details regarding the company's next-generation Starlink Gen 2 satellite design, revealing that it will outperform the current version in nearly every way. Musk said in an on-site interview that SpaceX has created at least one functional Starlink Gen 2 version 2.0 satellite prototype and sent it to the Starship factory in South Texas, where it is now being kept. More importantly, Musk revealed the first details about the next-generation spacecraft, revealing that each Starlink version 2.0 satellite will weigh approximately 1.25 tons, measure about 7 meters, and be nearly an order of magnitude more capable than the Starlink 1 satellites it will eventually replace. That sounds mighty, but let's see how it fares in reality. That's a wrap for this video. Do you think Boeing will be able to work past its issues or lose the space race to SpaceX? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.